Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Okay, in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 3, the disciples said to Jesus, when he had predicted the fall of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple, "Tell us, when shall these things be? What shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" They were, according to the majority of commentators, asking about the end of the current age, the end of the current Christian age. Well, the trouble with that is, as I've been sharing with you, is that the Bible is very clear, very emphatic, very explicit, that the kingdom of Christ, the new covenant age, what we sometimes call the church age, has no end. Now, very simply stated, if it is the case that the church age has no end, that the current age has no end, then the disciples were not asking about the end of the current age. And that means that any attempt to divide Matthew 24:25 into a discussion of the end of the Old Covenant age in AD 70 and the end of the current Christian age at the so-called end of time is a specious argument. Kenneth Gentry is supposedly writing a book right now to establish that in Matthew chapter 24, the disciples asked about the fall of Jerusalem, which occurred in AD 70, and the so-called end of time, end of the current Christian age. But again, if the Christian age, if the age of Christ and the new covenant has no end, the disciples were not asking about, and Jesus did not discuss the end of the current Christian age. Now, I shared with you yesterday Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. Well, in Daniel chapter 7, we have a parallel prophecy and prediction. It is a prophecy that is drawn upon, cited, quoted over and over and over by Jesus and by the New Testament. Daniel saw a vision. Just like Daniel chapter 2, tremendous parallels. Anyway, I don't have time to go through all of it. But Daniel saw a little horn arise and persecute the saints. Verse 9, I'm going to begin with verse 9 of Daniel chapter 7. I watched until thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow. The hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was like a fiery flame, its wheels of burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 1,000 thousands ministered to him. Pardon me. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated and the books were opened. I watched then, because of the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking, I watched until the beast was slain, its body destroyed, given to the burning flame. As for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives are prolonged for a season and for a time. I was watching in the night vision, and behold, one like unto the Son of Man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He came to the Ancient of Days. They brought him near before him. Then was given to him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away. His kingdom, the one which shall not be destroyed. Now, he's already told us about previous kingdoms that were going to be destroyed. Kingdoms to be destroyed, a kingdom not to be destroyed. Kingdoms to pass away versus a kingdom to never pass away. Now, here's something absolutely critical. The vision of the coming of the Son of Man, like the Son of Man, is set firmly and squarely in the context of the judgment of the little horn. Pardon me. I know it's popular for people to say, well, you know, this vision here in verse 13 and 14, that's the ascension of Christ. When he ascended to the Father and he sat down at the right hand. No, that's Psalms 110. Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. That's the ascension. Daniel chapter 7 is the reception, the establishment, not the initial establishment, but the establishment of the kingdom of Messiah at the judgment of the little horn. It's not the ascension. And by the way, the interpretation of the vision starts at Daniel chapter 7, verse 15. And it absolutely, positively confirms that the vision is about the time of the judgment of the little horn. The vindication of the saints of God martyred by the little horn, and the saints receiving the kingdom. You see, there's an interplay between the one like the Son of Man and the saints. He represents the saints. The saints represent him. That's a common understanding, folks. But the point is this. Daniel 7, 13 and 14 cannot be the ascension, unless you want to argue that the little horn was judged for persecuting the saints at the ascension of Christ. No, the saints hadn't begun to be persecuted by the little horn at the ascension. But at the judgment of the little horn, the one like unto the Son of Man is given a kingdom which shall never pass away. Now look, folks, what we have to understand here is there's a difference between Psalms 110, Christ being exalted to the right hand of the majesty on high, Psalms 110 being cited, by the way, some 32, 33 times in the New Testament, being enthroned there to sit at the right hand until his enemies are made his footstool. Well, guess what? The judgment of the little horn is his enemies being made his footstool. It's the conquering and the judgment and the destruction of his enemies. It is therefore the confirmation of his kingdom. It is the perfection of his kingdom. It's like Luke chapter 19. Certain man went into a far country there to receive the kingdom. Yep, he ascended there to receive the kingdom. But while he was there, certain of his citizens sent an ambassage to say, we would not have this man to rule over us. But guess what? The king would return, fully now endued with power, endued with authority. He would come, and what would he do? Luke chapter 19, bring those wicked men before me who would not have me to rule over them and destroy them. Judgment. That's when his kingdom was consolidated, perfected, consummated. That's Daniel 7, 13 and 14. The judgment of the little horn, who persecuted the followers of this newly designated king. And now he is putting his enemies under his feet. And how long would his kingdom last? Well, you know, some people say, well, you know, at the coming of Christ, he surrenders the kingdom. Wayne Jackson, Church of Christ preacher, has always taught, still does as far as I know, at his coming, Christ no longer reigns. And he cited 1 Corinthians 15. We'll have more to say about that later. No, sorry, folks. At the time of the putting down of his enemies, at the judgment of his enemies, he is given the kingdom which shall never pass away. It's not like he didn't possess the kingdom. He is acting in judgment as king. It is a failure to understand that nuance between initiation and consummation, and that Daniel 7 is consummation, that has led many commentators to misunderstand the text and take it completely out of context of judgment. To reiterate, Daniel 7, 13 and following is the judgment of the little horn and the consolidation of the reign of Christ when he would put down his enemies, i.e., the little horn. Listen, don't forget, okay? Take advantage of my two-book February, March 2019 special. Into all the world, then comes the end. The end of what? Is it the end of the reign of Christ? Is it the end of the Christian age? As many people say of Matthew 24:3? Nope, not even close. The last days identified. Did the last days begin on Pentecost? Or the Christian age? Is the Christian age the last days? Nope, not even close. If you purchase these books separately, it costs you almost $34 or just slightly over. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com, and up there, there's a tab, there's a banner for the two-book special for the month of March 2019. $25 total delivered price. All right? Well, there are more passages in the Old Testament that we could talk about to demonstrate that the disciples could not have been asking about the end of the current Christian age. But we'll cut that short just a little bit. We will come to the New Testament, and your homework for tomorrow, all right, for Wednesday, is to read, study, ponder Luke 31. I'm sorry, Luke 1, 32 and 33. I'll see you on the flip side.